Welcome back for part 4 of The Lady Dragon. Without further ado, let's continue the story. As Carnelian prepares for her upcoming fight with the returning merchant, she unwraps her weapon and talks with Chen. She admits feeling sorry for not defeating him earlier, but Chen advises her not to focus on missed chances. While they talk, Chen notices something strange about Carnelian's sword. It's not sharp. Curious, he asks how she plans to use it effectively. Carnelian poses an interesting question to Chen about what makes a blade effective. Chen suggests it might be the angle of the sword. Carnelian explains that the real power to cut comes from the wielder's determination, not the sharpness of the blade. She reveals a unique aspect of her sword. It stays cool despite being dull, making it comfortable to hold even in hot weather. She then names her sword the deranged blade Mistral, and it seems to respond positively. Suddenly, Chen meets Ikates and Li again. Li asks about their progress for the upcoming event, hinting at further developments. Both of them are happy to see Chen, especially Carnelian, who treats them warmly and kindly. This difference in treatment hurts Chen's feelings, as he notices. Li stops by to greet them, acknowledging the event as a duel but still reminding them to be cautious. Carnelian brushes off Li's concern, boasting that they don't need to worry about her. The duel is merely a warm-up for her. Li assures them of their support from a distance before they part ways. Chen remains quiet, reminiscing about the previous night when Li and Ikates first visited them. On that occasion, Li baked and brought cookies as a gift, hoping they would enjoy them. Both Carnelian and Chen accepted the gesture happily. Li apologizes for the sudden visit, explaining that they had to confirm something for Risenberg's safety. Chen awkwardly agrees, and Li directly asks about the reason for Chen's visit to Risenberg. Chen is about to respond, but Carnelian interrupts, stating that Chen is a wandering knight who seeks training and doesn't involve himself in any country's affairs or work for them. Politely, Li offers an apology if they seemed rude, but Chen brushes it off. Li admires the dedication to training despite hardships, and then they start eating and drinking wine. After a few minutes, they finish their meal. Li gets tipsy and remarks to Chen that he stands out from other knights. Carnelian, also intoxicated, agrees with Li, calling Chen very different. However, Chen covers her mouth, afraid she might reveal that he's not actually a knight. Li persists, saying Chen seems free from constraints and able to forge his own path, but Chen denies it, claiming he's not like that. Despite his denial, Li continues, feeling ashamed for using her title of Royal Knight as an excuse for neglecting her training. Chen observes her silently. The scene shifts back to the coliseum, where Carnelian calls out Chen's name, snapping him out of his thoughts of that night. Carnelian sighs and scolds Chen, questioning how he could be distracted when his duel is about to begin, deeming him an incompetent master. Confident, Carnelian enters the arena, expecting to finish the duel quickly. Chen watches nervously, hoping for a smooth outcome. The announcer starts the duel between Sir Kudrao and Sir Chen, and the crowd erupts in cheers for the spectacle. This marks Carnelian's debut at the Coliseum, and the audience enthusiastically supports her. Chen gazes at her, feeling a bit anxious but trusting in Carnelian's strength to overcome her opponent easily. Suddenly, the merchant Kudrao addresses Chen, asking about the view. He smiles at Chen and drops his arrogant demeanor, acknowledging both their skills. He mentions that while Chen's seal might be competent, so is his. Kudrao laughs and sits beside Chen, who feels uneasy about the sudden shift in attitude upon realizing he's a knight. Despite this, Chen refocuses on Carnelian and notices that Kudrao's companion, Jasak, appears formidable. Jasak, a stout woman with a stern expression, brandishes an axe for combat. Carnelian wrinkles her nose in disgust, commenting on Jasak's foul odor from where she stands. Offended by Carnelian's remark, Jasak charges at her with clear intent to kill, swinging her axe and leaving a deep crater upon impact with the ground. Chen grows concerned for Carnelian's safety as Jasak realizes Carnelian dodges her attack with remarkable speed. Carnelian taunts Jasak for her sluggishness, likening it to her master's. Jasak swiftly strikes at Carnelian again, but Carnelian effortlessly evades by leaping high into the air, a move she often employs. Disappointed, the crowd boos Carnelian, urging her to stop evading and face Jasak head-on. Kudrao smirks, remarking to Chen that the rumors about his seal being of high rank must not be true. Despite Carnelian's attempt to avoid it, the stench persists, prompting Jasak to charge at her in a rage. Carnelian skillfully evades all of Jasak's attacks and delivers a kick to her back. As Jasak falls, Carnelian clarifies that she's not running away but avoiding close contact due to the foul smell. Hearing this, Jasak's anger intensifies, and she leaps at Carnelian, preparing for a powerful strike. Carnelian effortlessly deflects Jasak's attack with her own sword, creating intense pressure in their vicinity. Kudrao grows more anxious as Carnelian, with a smirk, taunts Jasak, questioning if she believes she can win by just reaching her. With a swift motion, Carnelian disarms Jasak, sending her axe flying into the air. As Jasak kneels, Carnelian points her sword at her, smiling with a hint of pity, acknowledging the likely suffering she endured under her incompetent master. Carnelian, finding a straightforward victory dull, proposes ending the duel with a spectacular finish. With an incantation, Carnelian summons a crimson thunder aura around her, unleashing a high-level magic spell. The audience is astonished by Carnelian's display of power as fiery streaks rain down from the sky, resembling a meteor shower. Surprised herself, Carnelian realizes she didn't summon this particular magic, and it's not her doing. The flaming rocks hurtle towards the coliseum, sparking panic as everyone scrambles to flee. Suddenly, a resilient blue barrier materializes, shielding the civilians from harm, thanks to Ike's intervention. Amidst the chaos, the coliseum empties in a frenzied stampede, with Lee guiding people to safety, urgently urging them to evacuate. She explains that they're under attack from an enemy nation. The scene is fraught with tension and danger as an enemy catapult unleashes a relentless barrage of flaming rocks towards the city of Bellissima. Meanwhile, on the city's frontline, enemy soldiers mercilessly assault civilians, causing widespread devastation and loss of innocent lives. In one heart-wrenching moment, a soldier is poised to kill a defenseless woman who pleads desperately for her life. Ignoring her pleas, the soldier, following orders, remains callous, insisting that her fate is sealed and ordering her to be silent. Just as hope seems lost, Ike's arrives in the nick of time, utilizing his powers to create protective barriers around the woman, shielding her from harm. Caught off guard by the sudden intervention, the soldier struggles to understand the source of the unexpected protection. Seizing the opportunity, Lee swiftly intervenes, sneaking up behind the soldier and delivering a fatal blow, ending the immediate threat. Lee, aware of the danger lingering in the area, issues a warning and urges the rescued woman to evacuate promptly. Grateful, the woman expresses her thanks to Lee, the courageous knight. Ike's informs Lee that the situation has calmed down somewhat, and she acknowledges the assessment. Lee directs Ike's to proceed to the garrison and intercept any aerial attacks. Ike's seeks clarification about her role in the plan. Lee responds decisively, stating that she will personally head to the captured rampart to address the situation. She stresses the importance of safeguarding other strategic locations from falling into enemy control. Expressing concern for Lee's safety on the battlefield, Ike's voices his worries. Lee reassures him, indicating that his role will be crucial in defending against siege weapons, and Ike's acquiesces to her reasoning. As a gesture of additional protection, Ike's infuses Lee's sword with a touch of magical power. Grateful, Lee expresses her thanks to Ike's and instructs him to seek out another master should she fall in battle, a prospect that troubles him deeply. Lee advises Ike's on the unpredictability of war and encourages him to find someone whom he can trust wholeheartedly. Ike's silently acquiesces, though inwardly reluctant, and proceeds to his designated position. With a determined expression, Lee hurries to the battlefield, intent on safeguarding the civilians. Meanwhile, Chen and Carnelian remain at their inn, munching on cookies. Chen feels a pang of sadness as he recalls Lee's rejection of their assistance, reflecting on their earlier conversation prior to the invasion. Chen vividly remembers witnessing Carnelian defending the city and dispatching an enemy soldier. He ponders over the identity of these assailants. Suddenly, Lee and Ike's emerge on the scene, inquiring about the well-being of everyone present upon hearing some distressing cries. Carnelian informs them that they had encountered some minor adversaries obstructing their path. She offers them a smile and inquires about the situation. Lee explains that the nation of Helmand initiated an assault, using the royal duel as a diversionary tactic. They've never had a positive relationship with Helmand, leaving them puzzled as to why the attack would occur at this particular time. Carnelian expresses concern for their well-being and offers assistance, acknowledging that it might be inconvenient but insisting they're willing to help. However, Lee declines the offer, expressing gratitude but stating that the matter concerns Reiserberg exclusively, and they cannot involve others further. Lee advises them to seek refuge within the inner castle, assuring them of its security. Chen and Carnelian conclude their conversation, with Carnelian sharing her perspective on knights. She explains that while knights are sworn to their principles, true knights prioritize their principles above any specific allegiance or location, whether it be honor or chivalry. She further elaborates that expecting a free knight to aid another country is akin to asking them to forsake their principles. Chen comprehends her explanation and the reasoning behind it. Carnelian asserts to Chen that meddling without power is futile, a sentiment he agrees with. She further elaborates that she possesses a seal endowed with significant power, unlike Chen, who she perceives as somewhat boastful. Chen is confused and doesn't understand what she means. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, intense combat rages on as everyone is fully engaged. Lee prepares to join the fray and offer her assistance. In her thoughts, Lee reflects on Hellman's history of hostility but is taken aback by their current reckless aggression. She ponders who might be orchestrating this sudden onslaught. A soldier spots a knight poised to enter the battle and refers to her as Azure Raptor. Lee showcases her formidable skills, wielding her sword aglow with a light green aura, swiftly dispatching enemies with remarkable speed. Suddenly, Zealot, the knight, makes his presence known, observing Lee's prowess with a smirk, aware of her strength and vulnerabilities. With his distinctive sword at the ready, Zealot leaps toward Lee from the tallest gate of the castle with impressive speed. Lee swiftly detects Zealot's movement and skillfully deflects his glowing sword. Zealot locks eyes with her, remarking on the long interval since their last encounter. Feeling a surge of nervousness, Lee adopts a more serious demeanor, launching a counterattack that forces Zealot to retreat. The appearance of Nightmare Zealot on the battlefield shocks everyone present, including the surrounding soldiers, intensifying the already tense atmosphere. Amidst the silence, Lee addresses him by name, Zealot Vinkristine, and accuses him of being the mastermind behind Hellman's sudden aggression. In response, Zealot shifts the blame, suggesting it's more accurate to attribute the conflict to her actions. He reveals that he wouldn't have taken a contract from what he deems a dull country if not for her involvement. Lee is taken aback and demands an explanation. Zealot brushes off Lee's question, implying it's not something she needs to concern herself with at the moment. He then summons his seal, Karina, heightening Lee's unease about what's to come. Suddenly, Karina charges at Lee, emanating glowing rings adorned with runic inscriptions similar to those on Carnelian's sword. The force of the attack drives Lee backward from its impact. Uncertain of Karina's next move, Lee observes the seal's determined expression, indicating confidence in her ability to defeat Lee with Zealot by her side. In a menacing gesture, Zealot retrieves a mysterious red tonic from his belt, applying it to his sword, causing it to gleam as though soaked in blood. Lee recognizes the substance as poison. Provokingly, Zealot taunts her about the absence of her seal, suggesting that at the very least, Chen should witness his master's demise. Meeting Zealot's gaze with unwavering resolve, Lee firmly asserts that his interference is unwelcome. Zealot counters, stating that Karina will ensure Lee's final breath is witnessed, at the very least. In her thoughts, Lee recognizes the urgency of ending the fight swiftly, understanding that prolonging the battle would work against her. She acknowledges that she alone can halt Zealot's rampage among those from Risenburg. With determination, Lee charges at Zealot, while he readies himself for a thrust, managing to graze her arm with his attack. Despite being poisoned, Lee presses on, letting out a resolute scream as she launches her own assault, successfully piercing Zealot's left side of the stomach. Zealot reels from the impact of Lee's strike, staggering backward from the damage inflicted. Remaining steadfast, Lee braces herself for an impending counterattack, realizing that her initial blow wasn't deep enough. Hurt and losing focus, Zealot taunts Lee, provoking her to end his life at the cost of her own, questioning if this is the knightly pride she upholds. Doubt begins to creep into Lee's mind, but she notices the poison spreading in her arm. Nevertheless, she rises to her feet, prepared for another round of combat. Zealot proclaims the end of the Azure Raptor of Risenburg, gearing up for a formidable attack against Lee. With relentless determination, he charges at her with full force. However, Karina notices something amiss and warns Zealot to be cautious. He heeds her warning and withdraws, narrowly avoiding an unknown attack aimed at him. It's then revealed that Carnelian intervened, launching an attack against Zealot to shield Lee from harm. She chastises them for the unfairness of a 2 versus 1 fight, mockingly urging them to act more maturely. Karina recognizes Carnelian's voice as familiar. Carnelian proudly smiles, brandishing her sword, and proposes a fair fight with equal numbers. She stands ready to assist Lee in the battle. Outside the castle, enemy catapults unleash another barrage of flaming rocks at the city. However, Ikeates remains steadfast in his defense, protecting the city from harm. Despite the relentless assault, the enemy persists in their attempts to breach Risenburg's magical barriers with the hope of shattering them. A soldier reports to Commander O'Connell, the Hellman commander, that the catapults have been unsuccessful in penetrating Risenburg's shield. Despite the shield holding firm, The captain orders continued bombardment, convinced it will eventually drain the seal's power. The commander understands that eliminating Lee could lead to the downfall of even the resolute Risenberg. The onslaught persists until the shield finally succumbs, with Ikeates valiantly holding off the barrier. He frets over the relentless assaults from Helmand and hopes for Dame Lee's safety. On the battlefield, Zealot, Karina, Carnelian, and Chen stand facing each other. Carnelian offers a brief apology for their tardiness, explaining her master's deliberation. Now prepared, they are determined to swiftly end the confrontation. Carnelian confidently points her sword at them, poised for victory. As Karina gazes at Carnelian, memories of her past life resurface, recalling the day when Carnelian slew her previous master. Witnessing his demise, the memories flood back to Karina. In her previous life, Karina's master had wished for his wife and sons to protect Carnelian at any cost. Aware of the dire consequences if her master perishes, Karina remains motionless, understanding that her seal would be devastated and could potentially go berserk. Recalling Carnelian's past as Gering, characterized by a malevolent demeanor, Karina notes the stark contrast with her current calm expression. Having regained memories from her previous life, Karina confronts Carnelian, declaring her intent to end her life. Zealot is taken aback by her sudden aggression. Karina launches a powerful punch, but Carnelian swiftly blocks it with her blade, jesting that her greeting is excessively hostile. Recognizing Karina from their shared past, Carnelian retaliates, causing Karina to recoil. Carnelian regards her with seriousness. Karina acknowledges her recollection of her actions from her past life. Zealot intervenes, commanding Karina's seal to cease its actions, lamenting the chaos that has unfolded during their long-awaited reunion. He urges her to retreat for the time being. Karina refuses to comply, prompting an angry response from Zealot, who warns her not to defy his orders and questions if she seeks death. Feeling intimidated by her master's anger, Karina becomes apprehensive and uneasy, ultimately calming down but feeling disappointed about the necessity to retreat. Zealot, growing impatient, reiterates his command for Karina to cease her protestations and withdraw. Karina glares at Carnelian with resentment, forewarning that their paths will cross again someday. Carnelian dismisses her threat with laughter, mockingly expressing anticipation for their next encounter. Within the commander's tent in Helmand's nation, the commander seethes with fury, demanding an explanation from Zealot for failing to fulfill the contract. He recalls Zealot's confidence when negotiating the agreement. Zealot rises to his feet, his anger evident as he accuses the commander of breaching their contract. The commander, bewildered, seeks clarification on Zealot's assertion. Zealot discloses the existence of another high-ranking seal allied with Risenberg, besides Ikeates and Lee, leaving the commander anxious as he realizes there's another knight of Lee's caliber on the opposing side. Zealot chastises the commander for his failure to properly assess the assets of the enemy country before initiating the war. The commander, feeling envious, speculates about the rumors regarding the infamous Wandering Knight's decision to align with Risenberg. Zealot declares the contract null and void. Unconcerned about the consequences, Zealot declares that he doesn't mind if the commander spreads the word that he lost the war due to Zealot's actions. He believes it would be unjust to deny the weak the opportunity to boast, as the commander is aware they stand little chance against Risenberg. Meanwhile, at Lee and Ikeates' residence, Ikeates urges Lee to return to the castle for medical treatment, noting that a day has already passed. Lee explains that Zealot's poison mirrors its owner, making it resistant to easy treatment. Feeling despondent, Lee questions why Zealot chose to confront her as a mercenary from an enemy nation. Gazing out of the window, she recalls Zealot's past words, reminding her that she was once a child inflicting harm out of fear and vulnerability, a notion that weighs heavily on her mind. Lee reflects on whether Zealot's appearance was to confirm her growth. Suddenly, a knock interrupts her thoughts, and Ikeates assumes it's guests. Upon answering, he finds Chen and Carnelian at the door, bearing gifts for Lee. They gather for a conversation, during which Chen inquires about Lee's well-being. She responds positively, though she mentions that sword training is currently off limits. Before the topic shifts, Lee suggests they visit the Risenberg castle. Chen, unfamiliar with the place, asks for clarification. Lee explains that they've been invited by His Highness to receive gratitude for their efforts in protecting Bellissima. Feeling guilty, Chen expresses a desire to confess his true identity. Despite Lee's concern, he insists on being honest and grateful. With a serious expression, he admits to not being a knight but merely a cook, incapable of wielding a blade. Carnelian reacts with discomfort, questioning his decision to disclose this information. Lee smiled knowingly, not surprised by Chen's admission, stating they had already suspected he wasn't a knight. Chen scratched his head in surprise, while Carnelian reacted with a mixture of annoyance and shock. Lee emphasized that regardless of his official title, Chen had proven himself to be a true knight through his actions in aiding Risenberg. Carnelian questioned the possibility of Chen pretending to be a knight for praise and financial gain. She also expressed curiosity about their connection with Nightmare Zealot, noting their aggressive actions towards him despite not delivering a fatal blow. Lee's expression saddened, indicating she knew the answer to Carnelian's query. Observing Lee's discomfort, Carnelian reassured her that she needn't share if it made her uneasy. Nevertheless, Lee decided to disclose that she and Zealot trained under the same mentor and were once engaged. The revelation stunned everyone present. Suddenly, Carnelian and Ikate sensed a threatening presence, prompting Carnelian to leap into action to protect her master as the window began to crack. It becomes apparent that Zealot and Karina have arrived to see Lee, with Zealot explaining that he's there to settle unfinished matters. This concludes part 4 of Lady Dragon. What will happen next? What are Zealot and Karina's real motives after unexpectedly visiting Lee? What are Zealot and Karina hiding as they visit Lee? Lastly, what is our hero's next plan after that? Tune in next time for part 5 of this series, and I'm very glad that you all enjoy this. Thank you for the support, and as always, it's our destiny to discover new manhwa.